What is up, guys? Welcome back. I'm definitely going to cry in this video. What's up, guys? Welcome back. Happy New Year. I got a new lens, so I'm going to try and look into the lens instead of into my viewfinder from now on because my lens is just a lot closer to me now. My camera's a lot closer to me now, and so I feel like it's like super obvious if I'm looking over here instead of right at you. Bear with me. Anyway, guys, today we are kicking off the new year with a Q&A. I am feeling a little bit low right now. I just want to like level set with you. I have been trying to kind of buoy myself. This video is set to come out tomorrow and I genuinely thought about just like skipping it. I need to kind of pull myself out of what I'm going through right now, and this is like my happy place. So figured now's a really good time to go ahead and jump back into it. I'm having like stress sweat though. I love how like I talked about in my skincare video how I like never smell and like all I do right now is stink. It's fantastic. Anyway, long intro. Welcome to my channel. Yeah, so this is probably going to be both a Q&A, just to kind of, get to know each other all over again kind of thing, and also a little bit of a life update, and we'll get into that in a little bit. So without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and jump in. Okay, we're gonna start with Amber in Warden, who asks, how did you get into makeup in the first place? I got into makeup in the first place because I started 6th grade, 11 years old. I went through a lot of stress. My parents were getting divorced and things like that, and combination of just puberty acne and me needing an outlet to take my stress out, and I just got a bunch of acne and started picking at it. And then I was like, I need something to cover this up because that is the logic that I brought to the situation. Don't stop picking, but just like, try every mismatched concealer at the drugstore. And of course, this was 1998, and so I was living in an Eckerd's world. Do you guys remember Eckerd's? I'm sure most of you remember Eckerd's, but that's what like CVS used to be, and I lived near one, and my best friend and I would just like walk up there, and we would just, try whatever Maybelline foundation Buffy the Vampire Slayer had been promoting on a commercial recently, and that was to my detriment in a lot of ways, but I have always felt very indentured to makeup. I felt very trapped inside of it because of my skin, and it was only in, my nose is running because welcome to cedar season. Hang on a second. New year, same nose. So I always felt really trapped within makeup because I felt like it was this mask that I had to wear. Plus, I was a hairstylist starting at age 17 all the way through till about age 25, I want to say. And that was another instance, at least when I was working in Florida, where my boss really required that we all look really, really done up every day. It was a very like, I don't know, a posh place, I guess, by Florida standards. I don't know. I would go to MAC and I would buy all the really fancy sparkly things and the fake eyelashes and everything. And to me, it was always just kind of part of the job. And it was only recently, like the last year really, and I think that Clean Beauty helped me kind of break that, and also Glossier really helped me break that, and cream products and things like that, but also starting to get chemical peels and finding good skincare that actually works for me, where I healed my skin and makeup became something that I realized I could do on my own terms. And that was something that I really wanted to share. There were so many things when I first started my channel that I felt like I wasn't really at liberty to share my insights about makeup because I did have such a weird relationship with it. I would do these makeup looks and try and make them fun, and I still didn't feel like myself. And that was a big reason that I had a hard time finding the voice of my channel for a really long time. But makeup has become this thing for me where I realize I can do it exactly on my own terms. And I realized how cool it is that there is actually an audience out there for that, where there are a lot of people who were feeling the same way that I was. Love Zaylee asks, how did you get into marketing? Did you work in the creative aspect of marketing? So we talked about this, we touched on this in a live chat pretty recently, and I got a lot of questions about this because a lot of people saw my Instagram post where I said, hey, I quit my job, but I'm taking another set of work, which, I'm just like a new client basically, but I'm also staying in my old job still. Anyway, I got into marketing through blogging. I was a hairstylist, and then someone hired me to blog for them on a blog called Lovelyish. basically incorporating beauty and fashion into their website. It was a women's interest blog. That introduced me to analytics. So I don't want to get too esoteric here, but analytics basically is showing how people are interacting with your website or your presence online. And I am really mathy at the end of the day. I didn't major in it or even go like very far into math in college or anything, because I'm just not that interested in it, but it does makes sense to me. It's one of those things that I'm not afraid of, I guess. And so it being part of my job, I always really liked the idea that I could back into data. Like I could always like show my work and show my success. It wasn't just really subjective, because I had gone to art school, which is very subjective. It's very like, is it good? I don't know. Depends on who's looking at it. And so when I found that there was a platform where, you know, data mattered and someone could tell me, yes, this worked, or no, this didn't work, that was really, really exciting and valuable to me and all of my nerdy, you know, type A minus kind of personality. And so I dug in deeper to it because I was really excited about the ways that, you know, this was back in like 2011, that people were making money on the internet. You know, my sister was a blogger for 10 years and she really like went through the ringer in terms of people being like,
oh my gosh, this is an affiliate link? You're taking my money? You're stealing from me.
You know, because it was just this concept that was brand new to people, that you could make money by telling people what you like. And now it's so normal. I get people messaging me and they say, hey, I want to buy this product that you recommended. Can you generate an affiliate link for me so that I make sure you get credit? Like that could not be further from, you know, where we were at in 2010, 2011. So I wasn't on YouTube yet or anything like that, but I wanted to learn how to be the person that could help people make money. I felt like, you know, if I'm going to go into marketing, I want people to be able to measure my success. And so I went into paid search. So paid search is all the Google ads that you see. When you are searching on Google and you see something that says ad next to it, someone built that, and it's built on a platform where you are like bidding on traffic based on keywords and all kinds of other things that are moving around. I've been doing that now for going on 8 years. And when I started out at an advertising agency that specialized only in paid search in 2012, that was where I met my husband, there was no one who had a lot of experience in that field yet. And so they really put you through like a boot camp of teaching it to you. It was almost like 5 weeks of grad school just to learn paid search. And I got really into like the architecture of it and everything like that. And so this is something that I've just kind of built my career around, my actual, you know, like non-YouTube career. But turns out that it dovetails pretty easily into YouTube because Google owns YouTube. And so my analytics and everything like that, when clients come to me and they're like, can you advertise for me on YouTube? I'm like, absolutely. Like, I get it. You know, everything just works on the same back-end system. And I'm also really good at reading my actual YouTube analytics and interpreting them. And it's just interesting how being a hairdresser, being a blogger, being a marketer, and, you know, now being a YouTuber, it all kind of comes together and I get to use all of my skills, also having an art degree. I was actually watching Tati's video, her most recent one with Scott Barnes in it, and he talked about how he was actually a painter. His degree is in fine arts and painting. I was like, me too. So, you know, maybe I'll be Scott Barnes someday. I am currently at an agency, but I was working 30 hours a week for them. I went part-time earlier this year. And then I actually put in my notice and they were like, hey, you know, there are a couple of clients who could really use you like going through Q1. And so I'm staying on for 15 hours a week through Q1 for them. But I also took on new business with an amazing company that I'm very excited to be partnering with for another, you know, similar hours dedication per week. And then it also makes time for my YouTube channel. One of my New Year's resolutions is to just have a little bit more time for myself, even if that means making a little bit less money. I realized that when I lost my job in 2018, I got into this really good mindset of not being materialistic, and I found that I actually had more money and felt more abundant just on my like YouTube revenue than I did when I was working full time and just like making a lot more money. And then in 2019, I had to get a job in order to like sustain myself, and immediately all of the materialism just like washed back over me, and I was just like, how? Like how? And it's because when you don't really love your job, you feel like earning that money gives you the right to go and like spend it with a vengeance. When earning your money feels good to you, you don't really feel this like need to go and like prove your worth with your spending power. And so I found a way to balance my life towards the end of this year in a way that I enjoy the ways that I'm making money. And my intention for 2020 is to balance the fact that I do have more abundance now and I do have more opportunities and I am making more money than I was when I was unemployed, and also not having the materialistic mindset that goes along with it. So that's the hope. Iris Andromina asks, how and why did you start a channel? I started a channel because I watched so much YouTube and I said, I could do this. There wasn't necessarily some mission that I had from the very beginning. It was just that I'm an evangelist. Like, naturally, my personality is that I like to tell people when something is cool. And I wanted a platform to be able to do that. So I did spend the first couple of years on my channel kind of evangelizing everything. What I was eating, what I was wearing, what makeup I was using, things like that. And it has really run the gamut. I did realize just from I don't know, like an algorithm standpoint that I needed to just kind of pare down because people needed to know what to expect if they were subscribing to my channel. I feel like that's just common courtesy. You can't just put your entire personality online in one channel. I mean, I guess you can, but that's a lot. I don't know. But anyway, so I started my channel because I just had this overwhelming urge to scream into the void. I will always need to be able to like broadcast when I find something cool or when something ticks me off and I feel like it was unfair. Anytime I have some kind of really strong emotional reaction to something, I feel the need to share it. And that was just the motivation behind starting a YouTube channel, was like, look, I have a voice and I feel like of all of the people who I'm watching on YouTube, like I want to be part of that instead of just watching it. And it's evolved. It's evolved to what it is now, slowly but surely. There are people who have subscribed to my channel in like 2014, 2015 who are still here. And I just say, God bless you. You are patient souls. Thank you. Sarah Batu asks, what is your moon sign? So for those of you who don't know, I'm way into astrology. Chani Nicholas did an interview yesterday on NPR. I think it was on Here and Now. And she was talking about how astrology didn't used to be an unscientific kind of woo-woo thing. It was very much part of astronomy and that it was considered kind of scientific. And I was just like, Chani, you are so cool. Like, I don't know, if you don't get her emails, they're brilliant. She's so cool. Follow her on Instagram. She's lovely. But anyway, my moon sign is Gemini. So your moon sign is technically, I believe, like your emotional self, essentially. And I feel like the main thing that my moon in Gemini means is just that I have like a spiritual self that's constantly just entertaining other planes of existence. A lot of grass is always greener mindsets that I'm constantly having to sort of work myself back from. But I think that it also helps me be really articulate about how I'm feeling. Your emotional self, Gemini is very articulate. Gemini is very good at like writing and communicating, throat chakra. So I think that that's what gives me my ability to speak my emotions so well. So yeah. I love this question and I love this person. Torianne00789, she just sends me the sweetest messages. Was it a hard adjustment to start embracing your paleness? That sounds so weird, LOL. But I always think of myself as being a kind of tan, but I'm one shade darker than you with a Glossier G10. So yeah, Glossier G11, and it's like the palest, I want to say the palest, maybe the second palest shade that they came out with. So with my paleness, I mean, I did just get a box of like PR from Loving Tan. I am still completely open to self-tanning. Like I'm not opposed to it whatsoever. But you guys do know it probably came out of my Aether Beauty video where I did 2 looks. I did like a cool tone and a warm tone look on each side of my face. And that was when a lot of you guys said, you know, I wish that you would just try and embrace the paleness because cool tones actually work for you. And that was when I kind of realized that like all the warm tone things that I was really embracing, yes, I do feel like I have like pale yellow gold, maybe olive undertones kind of. I don't know. That when I am at my very palest, which I didn't even really know because I was so covered in freckles for the most part until I started using more AHAs and retinols and things like that, I started to actually see my real skin tone and I was like, I'm actually more neutral than I realized, and it made me want to kind of play in the cool tone sandbox a little bit more. I think that what we do a lot of times with the temperature of our skin and with, being self-tanned or anything like that is that we tend to buy makeup that goes with that. We tend to wear clothes that go with that. We tend to color our hair in a way that goes with that. So we have all of these different things surrounding our skin tone, and that's what makes it hard to break free of that if you want to. I'm not necessarily saying you should, but if you desire to, then, start thinking about all of the ways that maybe the other things that have gone with your previous like tanner self are kind of clashing with it. Because for me, it was starting to wear lighter colors, starting to dial back the saturation of my makeup, and understanding that I needed to pretty much adjust any tone with a little bit of powder or something like creamy or white toned in order to make it work with my skin. I say this all the time, but I watch the Kardashians and it's been like a this year obsession. I cannot believe how calming they are for me. I don't know why, but they're super calming for me. And I would watch Mario do Kim's makeup, and you watch him play in all these tones and we think, oh, those beautiful rich brown tones, they look so beautiful on them, they're gonna look beautiful on me. I'm like 5 shades lighter than Kim Kardashian. I am not half Armenian. And so I have to think, what are those shades in relation to my skin tone? Those browns are only like a couple of standard deviations from her skin tone. I need to work in tones that are only a couple of standard deviations from my skin tone. And in a lot of ways, that ended up being using my blush and my bronzer as eye makeup instead of going into eyeshadow palettes. Like the Aether Beauty Rose Quartz palette is probably the first palette that I have come across that has shades that I can use straight out of the pan. But like that was, if I look back on 2018 and me just like crashing through so many eyeshadow palettes, like I want to go back to those palettes and like have my Hourglass powder sitting there next to me and mix that powder in with my eyeshadows and just bring them down to a paleness level that has enough contrast on my skin without just completely taking over my face and without being just really dark and looking really evening or really just dramatic. I don't need that, and I think that that's a big adjustment, is just the same way that women who have really deep skin tones have to sometimes invent hacks to make certain makeup work for them. It's kind of the same thing for super pale girls. You have to, try and figure out how to get the look that you want, like go into it with a mindset of the look that you want to achieve instead of letting the makeup tell you what you're supposed to look like. And for me, that's been lightening up my makeup, lightening up my blush. Like I will put my blush on and then I will go back in with that Hourglass powder and I will just, lighten everything back up and blend it back in because things can get so high contrast so fast. So I hope that that's helpful. What new product are you most excited to try in the new year? Not that much new stuff has come out. Here's a weird one. So I talked about Charlotte Tilbury in my last video, and I was very in passing. I was like, I miss Charlotte Tilbury. I miss Charlotte Tilbury because very much like Patrick Ta, she makes makeup that's in these beautiful gold, pink, brown, beige tones that are just the things that I want to douse myself in every single day. There's just something about her aesthetic that is so native to me. Like I feel so at home in it. And the big disappointment is, now that I know what ingredients are in a lot of ways, I look at a lot of her ingredients and I'm disappointed. One of my favorite foundations is the Light Wonder foundation, but it has fragrance in it, pretty low on the list, but still, and it also has paraben, polypropyl paraben and methyl paraben or whatever in it. I've done a lot of reading on parabens. I know that it is pretty innocent if you compare it to something like taking a birth control pill, because what it is, parabens mimic estrogen in your system, and they basically have shown that it makes cancer cells, or like it's been found in breast cancer cells, but Kenna does a way better job of explaining this than I do. But the jury's out essentially. And the fact that parabens are in such lower amounts than other preservatives that are less controversial in most products. Either way, what I'm really trying to say is, I don't know, Wayne Goss came out with a video the other day and he said, Charlotte Tilbury has changed her eyeshadow formula. And I think that he was more talking from a performance standpoint, but I have been closely monitoring her formulas and all the different products and like which ones I can actually feel good about putting on my skin. And I was concerned because she was either not disclosing her eyeshadow ingredients on the Sephora website at all, or they had parabens in them, I think, if memory serves. The new one, her one with like all the, I'll put it on the screen, with all the like long pans in it, doesn't have any parabens in it, and the ingredients look pretty good. So I don't know whether she's like switching over to like phenoxyethanol, or I don't know what all the other ones are, but a little bit less controversial. But I do feel like in a lot of ways us voting with our dollars and clean, even though it's not a certain thing, being part of the conversation is really influencing the way that new makeup is coming out. And I'm excited for the brands that are kind of taking that into consideration. And I don't know, I might be just really grasping at straws here. I might be really grasping at straws, but I feel like Charlotte Tilbury is kind of hearing it. I don't know, especially because Patrick Ta's ingredients are so good. And he is like right there alongside her. Like if he comes out with an eyeshadow palette, it's on. It's on between the two of them. So that, and I don't know, I really like have products that aren't necessarily new that I've been like dying to try that I couldn't like bring myself to get my hands on last year. The Viseart Apricotine palette. I want to rebuy my Kojin Dough foundation because I gave it away because I was purging all of my dirty products and like $77 foundation. I gave it away. Such a beautiful foundation. And what else? The Natasha Denona bronzer and blush palettes. I also just ordered so much totally beautiful, brand new KKW, the Mario Muse collection and everything. I will say they don't list the ingredients for the concealer online, so I'm a little concerned there. We'll just have to see when I get it. But the eyeshadows looked really good. The lips looked really good. The lip liner looked really good, all that stuff. So, and a blush. That blush is gorgeous. I bought the little set. Anyway, those are some things that I'm excited to try. I also have some other stuff, like I'm wearing a brand called Saint Cosmetics on my face right now, the foundation and concealer, and I really like it so far. I'm just kind of fine-tuning it and figuring it out before I share it with you guys, but it's a Canadian brand. They're very small, they're very sweet, they're so nice. So I bought a bunch of stuff from them that I have been testing out, and I'm just excited to try a bunch of new stuff this year. What cosmetic procedures, Botox, lip fillers, etc. will you keep doing in the future? So I'm about to re-up on my Botox tomorrow. I'm a big fan. I just get it in my forehead, my glabella. I showed my husband a picture of me that was a couple of years old yesterday, and he was like, oh. I was like, yeah, it does make a difference. And I absolutely am never looking back on the lip fillers. I love them so much. I get 1 cc. I will probably get like a half of a syringe next time just for maintenance. Because even I told my mom and I told my sister when I was in town for Christmas, I was like, I have lip fillers. They were sitting there talking trash on them. They were just like, oh God, it always looks so fake, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I have lip fillers. And my mom's like, oh, well, you just like maintained what you already had then. Cause like, I don't even notice them. And I was like, that is the point. You won't notice it if someone does a good job. Like if someone gets a really good job of it, you only notice when it's like outrageous, obviously. So yeah, I mean, there are plenty of really, really beautiful things that can be done at your dermatologist's office or at a med spa that, that only benefit and that no one is going to really like notice a difference. You just look a little bit better. The real Shannon I, or Shanani, I'm thinking Shannon I. What are your thoughts on the beauty community and its influence on self-esteem? Do you think it's correlated with the level of consumerism we see? Okay. In terms of self-esteem, I think that it's not just the beauty community, it's beautiful people on the internet, it's Facetune, it's Instagram, it's basically people modeling their best lives. I had this moment when I posted earlier. I usually do 2 prompts on my Instagram just to make sure I get everybody, that wants to ask a question. And someone jokingly asked, it's a viewer that I've had for a long time. I've talked to her a lot. I did not take this in any kind of insulting way at all, but she goes, why do you hate your other cat? And my other cat is Bruce. He's the black cat he was in the beginning of a video pretty recently because he was just kind of like lurking in the background. I realized that, because I said, why do you think I hate my cat? She says, he's never on your Instagram. People understand that your Instagram isn't your life, but they do tend to think, we all tend to think, that it is a slice of someone's life, that it is proportionately showing equal portions of what's going on in your life versus like the whole. And that's not necessarily true. Like, I basically posted, I was like, here's why I don't take pictures of my other cat. He's completely unphotographable. He is fluffy and black. He hardly ever sits still or lets you get really close to him. And he's really not around that much. He's feral, and people are like feeling sorry for Bruce. I was like, don't feel sorry for Bruce. Bruce doesn't want my love. That's like a semi-wild cat. So yeah, that's why Monster is my favorite and my baby, and why he's in all of my photos is because he sits still a lot. He's on my lap a lot. He's a lot easier to photograph because he's black and white and he has these bright green eyes, and he likes to sit in the grass where it's nice and high contrast, everything looks nice, and he sits so still I can use portrait mode. That's the bottom line of it. But the point is, we tend to expose ourselves kind of unwittingly, I think, to ideals that aren't real. We have to remind ourselves, and I know that this is so cliche, but we have to remind ourselves that like everything that you're seeing online is literally not real. Like, it's literally not real. I don't know. I mean, even just by virtue of the fact that I'm filming myself, you're not seeing me in real life. There's a whole essay by Trinman Ha called Documentary Is / Not Real, I think is what it's called. Either way, they made us read it in college, and it's all about how as soon as you document something, it is through your lens. There is literally no way to show reality to someone else unless they are like right there living it, because they are going to have their own interpretation of reality. There actually is literally no such thing as reality. It's your perception. So that being said, when you talk about like the beauty community influencing someone's self-esteem, yes, I think that advertising in general, marketing in general, uses your insecurities to sell you things. Everybody's trying to make a buck, and that's what they're going to do, is they're going to usually, advertise to you based on an insecurity that they can kind of build into you. If it doesn't already exist, they're going to make it exist. But, on YouTube and things like that, I feel like most of the time these things are coming from a place of creative inspiration, and I don't think creators are necessarily as guilty of it as maybe Instagram advertisers and things like that. And also we do it to ourselves by looking at things that are face-tuned and blurred to perfection. Just understand that stuff's not real. And if you ever need like a reality check, those like before and after Photoshop Instagrams are fantastic. They're really, really good. You're like, oh, no one's waist is that small. Okay. Iris Andromina also asks, what are you currently reading and what are your favorite books of late? I actually am just finishing up the 4 Agreements. I have read so many self-help books and so many spiritual books and all this stuff, and I had just never, for whatever reason, even heard of the 4 Agreements. And it's such a quick read. I think it's like 150 pages. Sarah Verba talks about it on her channel all the time. Sarah Verba is my favorite astrologer / tarot reader. I love watching her channel. She's an amazing intuitive. I think she is just the best. I love her so much. And I just decided that I was going to download it on Kindle. It's incredibly quick. It basically hinges on the idea that we as human beings have kind of been taught our reality for our entire life, and that we actually have control over that, and that there are like 4 basic like pillars that we can concentrate on in order to like live a happier life with our minds a lot freer. It's a fantastic brain reset book. You can read it like anytime. I'm serious. Like, I've belabored it because I've been kind of sick, and so I've been falling asleep a lot. Like, I've been sleeping a lot, but if I like sat down and read that book, I could probably read it in like 3 hours. It's really not, it's not a burden at all. It's just lovely. It's written in very plain English, but also, I don't know, I have this pet peeve. Please don't at me, but like I have this pet peeve when I recommend a book to someone and they go, okay, I'll listen to it. Because especially when it comes to self-help, like if it's a plot, fine. You know what I mean? You might as well. But when it's a self-help book, especially when they're written in super, super plain prose like this is, totally personal and really selfish of me to say so, but I want somebody to read it, not listen to it, because I think that when something is written in really plain English, you want to go back and reread certain things, or they can just kind of blow past you, especially one that probably wouldn't take very long to listen to. So I highly recommend reading it, not listening to it. This is not an Audible ad. Advice for people who don't relate to their sun sign. I want to get into astrology, but ... And that is from Emma O. Nelson. So I advise you to look at your whole chart. I totally get it. There are also things called decans that splits the time period of your actual zodiac sign up into 3 parts, and a lot of times you will relate to your specific decan more than like the whole of it. But a lot of people, their rising sign resonates way more. Way more. My rising sign is Cancer. I feel like, you know, your rising sign is supposed to be like the mask that faces the world, how other people perceive you. I think people pretty much perceive me as an Aries. I think I have no chill. And I think that most of the time people just see me as being really driven and intense, but I can also be empathic and I can be caring and I can be nurturing and things like that. So I guess I have a little bit of that Cancer energy, but like I have close friends who, like I have a friend who's a Gemini, but like I would peg her as a Sagittarius all day long, and she is a Sagittarius rising. And there are just certain parts of, like there are certain people who parts of them show more than others. And if you are kind of a more like, I don't know, outwardly empathic person, your mask that faces the world might be more of your personality. But yeah, like if your sun sign doesn't resonate with you, like that's totally okay. A lot of people are like that. Maddie Montgomery 1907 asks, will you ever go short with your hair again like pixie status? Absolutely not. No. No shade on anybody who wears their hair short. It is cute, but the maintenance, the upkeep, and how long it took me to grow my hair back out was so not worth it. Wore my hair short from like age 15 when I chopped it all off myself, through being a hairdresser all the way until I basically started growing it out when I was like 23, 24. Oh my gosh, it took so long. And the reason that I even was able to maintain it was because I was a hairstylist. I could get my hair cut for free like every 3 or 4 weeks. So it wasn't really a big deal. I trusted the people I worked with to maintain it for me, to know exactly what I wanted. But if I had to pay $40 for a haircut every 3 weeks and I didn't have someone that I really trusted to do like a little pixie cut on me every time, no. I like being able to throw my hair in a ponytail. I know that my hair is kind of, I don't know. I think my hair is kind of blah, but I've been kind of working towards blah. I was a hairstylist for so long that I really always had like really cool hair that took like an hour to style and like 5 different products. I have been slowly, gradually, very intentionally moving towards blah hair. It was something I always wanted. I just wanted to be a non-hairdresser. And I now blow dry my hair with like a flat paddle brush. And I don't put hardly any product in it, and I don't color it really anymore. I just have like old highlights, so mission accomplished. Simply Hannah Jo asks, if you could keep only one skincare item, what would it be? Truly, the Thrive Mask. I think that I could get my entire skincare routine technically done with the Thrive Mask. It has everything in it. Can you review Tatcha and Tata Harper products? Thank you. I get a lot of requests for different brands, guys. I get around to them as I can. I have reviewed a lot of Tatcha products in the past, but Tata Harper probably not, just because her entire line hinges on essential oils. So please use turn signals. One of my favorite humans asks, being such a substantial person, thank you, able to go deep and be authentic, how do you stay stimulated by the YouTube beauty community? Hell, the beauty community in general. So I had to think about this one, because if I'm being totally honest, I have a lot of stuff in my life. Like I have a lot of stuff that I'm doing at any given time. And a lot of it has more to do with living in my own paradigm than consuming other YouTubers' content. I always get something out of it. I do. Like every time I watch another YouTube video from a creator that I like, or even like a new creator, I have to admit, I do always get something out of it, and I appreciate that. Like I learned something, but I don't do it as often as I get inspired by other things. I've always benefited more from being in my own paradigm in any aspect of my life, for whatever reason, when it came to like being inspired with art, doing hair, writing, music, anything like that. Like when I was kind of needing to feel like I was hammering out my own identity, it was so much more about finding the things that inspired me. My clothing too. I mean, it's just something where I get inspiration from surprising places. Like stuff just sneaks up on me and I'm like, nope, that's it. That's the one, you know? And I don't necessarily think that I feel like I'm part of the natural flow of the YouTube beauty community, if that makes sense. Maybe like clean beauty and everything being what was happening last year, I kind of fell a little bit more into at least like a subculture, which is totally fine. Like, it's totally fine. I'm not trying to be like, I'm not like other girls, you know, just quirky for the sake of quirky. But I do appreciate when people come to my channel and they say, you're doing something different. What would your advice be for a European visiting Texas from Pammy Cosmetics? The biggest difference that I notice when I go to Europe and come back here is how big everything is in America, especially in Texas. Get the free water, get a giant beer, get giant everything, just and get a giant hotel room and go and be on like a ranch or something. Just go experience all the bigness of everything, because that's the American way. Do you do your own nails? CGB1851 asks. And favorite nail polish brand? I feel like I have to cover this every time, but I don't do my own nails. I go and get them done. My girl Lee over at Diamond Nails does them in Austin. She is amazing. And I get SNS dip powder, so I don't even like own nail polish. I just get this done. It's the only thing that makes my nails able to grow this long, and I just have always coveted really, really long nails. I think long nails, they give me power, like Khloe Kardashian. I want to say Eve Suarez asks, how do you keep it together when you have so much on your plate? LOL. I thrive on constant motion. It's something I talked about on my second channel, how sitting still is actually the hard thing for me. And so when it comes to having a lot on my plate and getting a lot of things done, all of the satisfaction of finishing things really keeps me going. And it's something that I have to like be really mindful of, because I can get carried away. I can burn myself out, and then I can kind of like have to belly flop, I guess, just from an energetic standpoint. And so it's really not the like having so much on my plate part that makes it hard to keep things together. It's making sure that I take the time for myself to literally do nothing. My sister gave me a puzzle of the Zodiac for Christmas, and that's all I've been doing like the last 3 days, is just a jigsaw puzzle. It's fantastic. So yeah, make sure that you give yourself the time in between your tasks to actually sit back and appreciate what you've accomplished. Carolyn Emily, another of my favorites, asks, what were your favorite skin, hair, makeup products as a youth? Any phases, emo, preppy, etc.? Yeah, I was preppy until I was like 15 and no one would accept me, and I also didn't like how I looked, and so I went full emo kid, and turns out I was super good at that. I was very, very good at being angsty and going to shows and enjoying really loud music and being a scene queen and being a judgmental little MySpace prick. And yeah, I mean, it was a fun time. I think that, you know, most people around that age feel some sense of like needing to like take their angst out somewhere. And for me, it was music. I was just really into like emo music, and emo means something completely different than it used to. From a product standpoint, I touched on this earlier, but like MAC. I mean, I was just so into MAC. I even heard Alana Davison talk about it. She's like, I feel like that's the one thing that like MAC just didn't get into the, like they didn't catch the merry-go-round as it was coming around on influencers and on social media. They've always been this iconic brand, but they just like didn't really keep up in that sense. And so they're still a really iconic brand, and they're still doing beautiful things, but they kind of missed out on what I think are like on being kind of a viral brand in a lot of ways. But they were a very viral brand in an analog sense when I was like in high school and college, and that was just like all we wore was MAC. Okay, so Katie E. Blair asks, are you still freelancing, and what does a typical workday look like? So I think that this is different from like, you know, how I got into marketing and stuff. And this is like something I'm always curious about with every YouTuber. So I want to answer this for you guys. I wake up in the morning and I have my coffee. I work from home. And I usually would put in like 6 hours a day at my job. But now that I'm splitting my time a little bit more and I don't have to be in meetings, I'm so happy. I'm just doing client work. Then, you know, I'll have calls here and there with my other client contacts, because those are a lot easier. We are a lot more in onda, you know, we just kind of like get each other a lot more. And so we can be in constant contact without having to like be on scheduled calls and stuff. We can like text each other. But before that, it was, you know, it was 6 hours solid. I would work from about 8 to 2, or I would break it up sometimes to take like a meeting in the afternoon or something. And then I would film in between in those times, or edit in between in those times, or work work out in those in between those times. Yeah, I pretty much like, if I'm working on a video, sometimes I'll work till like 6 p.m. when my husband gets home from like the gym or something. But other days, you know, I get done around 4 and I will just like go grocery shopping or stuff like that. Like I have days that are more flexible than others depending on, you know, whether I've already filmed ahead or whether I have a lot more work to do or I have a lot of meetings or anything like that. But this year it's going to be so much more flexible. I'm probably going to be able to, you know, split my hours up basically for all the clients that I have. I'll probably end up working more, but like be more flexible because I'm not necessarily on someone else's schedule. And I want to try to be so much more present in my videos. I feel like that's the reason that I wanted to get that flexibility in my schedule, is because I don't want to feel like making videos is work. And I rarely feel that way, but like towards the end of the year, I started to feel that way. And then when I filmed my end of the year video of like my clean routine 2019, I was like, oh yeah, that's what it feels like to speak from my heart again. Like it just felt so good. The first of the 4 agreements is be impeccable with your word. And I just really want to concentrate on making sure that like I'm fully present the same way a friend would be sitting down and like having coffee with you or something if I'm gonna get on camera. Ruby Pearl RVA asks, do you want kids? So I will preface this by saying if you have any like triggers about pregnancy complications, I will put a timestamp right here so you don't have to watch this, because I would totally understand if you don't want to and just skip past it. It's gonna be fine. But for those of you who are curious, and I get the question a lot, I'm 32 years old. A lot of people are like, are you gonna have kids? You know, it's not necessarily like a pain in the butt question at all. You know, it's something I'm curious about for everybody. The answer is the getting pregnant part was not hard. Only took us 3 months. It was the staying pregnant part that was hard, and I will probably cry talking about this. I'll see if I don't. We'll see. I've talked myself till I'm blue in the face about this, but it has not been that long, and it's been kind of just a really interesting process. So, found out that we were pregnant the day before Thanksgiving. And we went in for my first ultrasound on the 20th of December. I was 7 weeks. And we saw the heartbeat, and I'm going to break everyone's heart, and I'm really sorry. We saw the heartbeat, and we were so excited, and we had bought these presents to tell our families at Christmas and stuff like that. But then the next night I had a miscarriage, and it was really traumatizing. More than I ever expected it to be. You know, you hear about people having miscarriages all the time, and they always talk about how statistically common it is. They're like anywhere from like 15 to 40%, depending on, you know, how much data is being reported. Like it's so common, but that does not change how hard it is. It is really hard. And I still, like, it was my first time this ever happening to me, and I flew home, and I ended up in a lot more pain than I expected to be. I ended up bleeding for a lot longer than I probably should have. And I ended up in the emergency room on Christmas Eve. That was where me and my mom and my sister spent Christmas Eve, was in the emergency room in Tallahassee. And you know, they poked me and prodded me and took some blood, and they were all very sweet and everything. But basically, you know, they told me everything was okay. I just had to, you know, finish the process and see it through. And so yesterday I went back in Austin for an ultrasound to make sure that everything was okay, and that my uterus looked normal, and that everything had run its course. And that was unexpectedly the hardest one, because I had just gone in for an ultrasound to see a baby, and then I was going in for an ultrasound to make sure it was gone. Thank God for tubing mascara. So, oh, there's my lip gloss. Let's do that. So funny. My sister and I don't look anything alike, but man, we cry the same. Yeah, that's what I've been processing in the last like 10 days or so. Just that loss and that grieving. And again, it's crazy how like your body can recover, but your brain is just still like, it can wash over you. You're fine 1 second, and then you're like so not fine the next second. And talking about it has helped. And I'm at the point now where like everybody in my life knows. And so like most people didn't even know we were pregnant. So, I mean, like I didn't have to tell that many people that it had terminated. And so, yeah, I feel comfortable talking about it, not only because it, you know, of all the people who know at this point, but also because I mean, it's the same thing I said to Hallie. I said, I'm going to be weird for a little while. And I don't want you to be like, why is she being weird? You know, and not that she would necessarily, but like, I feel like, you know, the people close to me deserve to know why. And I also feel like just like anything else, talking about it and for other people who have gone through it to help share, just talking about it makes it less scary. And it's not a shame thing. It's not like oh, I'm hiding this in the shadows and now I'm so ashamed of it. It's like, no, but you have to let those emotions run their course. You cannot just say, well, I am giving myself a time limit on this. Because of course now, you know, I was pregnant for almost 2 months. Like I want to be pregnant again. Like, of course I do. Of course I want to feel those feelings again. Like I loved feeling so magical. Like I was just making something miraculous. And then, you know, that was like the first thing out of my mouth the next morning. Mike's like, how are you doing? I was like, I feel like the magic's gone. I was like, I feel mortal. But my mom and my sister were so good to me. They took such good care of me over the holiday, and Christmas was kind of a wash. If you can believe it. We had a lovely actual Christmas day, and the day after Christmas is my stepdad's birthday. We had a really nice time. But for the most part, I was like alive and on my feet for a little while, and then I would just crash back out and have to go back to bed. And I spent a lot of Christmas, you know, in bed with a heating pad. It was just, you know, it's kind of a wash. So glad that it's 2020. Glad to kind of, you know, have that encapsulated in 2019. Start fresh a little bit, and also just be a little bit more mentally and emotionally experienced with all of it. So I invite anybody who wants to share their story in the comments to do so. I think that talking about it is really important. I do hit vulnerability limits just like anybody else to the point where it's like you get done sharing, you know, you're like, I've talked this out, I've talked it out. So but yeah, I wanted to share that with you guys. I really deliberated on whether or not to share it with you guys, but I would have felt really weird glazing it over and like not mentioning it. So yeah, yes, I want kids. We are actively trying. It was the staying pregnant part that was hard. Someone else asks, how are you? Well, I'm doing okay. Thank you, Bode Isa 24. Adams JM 21, are you going to see the new Star Wars movie? I have never seen a Star Wars movie. Oh, what was the tattoo that you got removed? Like, you guys want to see it? This was a giant tattoo of the lighthouse at Cape Hatteras Bay, and I got it for my grandmother because she loved to paint lighthouses and that was her favorite one, but I hated how it was done, and so I got it taken off, and it cost me $3,000 and it hurt a lot. Sunshine 1411 says, do you have siblings? I do. I have one sister. She's like a year and a couple of weeks older than me. So we are basically the same age, but we're like, you know, we're so close in age. We're like almost Irish twins or whatever. And like when that happens, you tend to look really, really different. So we don't look anything alike. She's got like dark brown hair and olive skin, and like we don't even really look related. But when we talk, we sound related. Ariel X asks, how was your experience with friends and family when you started putting videos online? They pretty much knew that I was like one of those people who just needed to put themselves out there. And so my family wasn't that weird about it. My husband was weird about it. Right when we first, like, he wasn't my husband at the time. We had moved in together, and it was just something that I wanted to do, but we had a really small house. I didn't have like a dedicated filming space. And so I had to film when he was out of the house, and I would leave my lights up, and it just sort of like, he was like, what is this? Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you putting your life online? He's a very private person. I don't mean to make him sound like he's a Scrooge. He's not. He's like one of the sweetest, most lovely, wonderful, like open people, but he just doesn't want to put his life on the internet. And so that is something where, again, like you get that slice of life on like my social media and stuff. You would think I like don't have a husband, and it's just because he doesn't like being on camera. He doesn't like being on the internet. So even Halo asks, if this is too personal, just ignore. Why did you change your name from Kevin? I didn't change my name from Kevin. My name is still Kevin. Kevyn is my first name. Kackie was a nickname I got from my sister when I was a kid. So they called me Casey because I was very like not feminine when I was a baby. I just didn't grow hair, and so I was kind of, you know, ambiguous. And so my parents started calling me Casey by my initials. My sister, being, you know, just a year older than me, she said Kackie, and they were like, okay. Like I was Kackie from like videos of me as an infant. Like I never had a choice in it. And then when not that I don't like it, because when I went into kindergarten, they were like, do you want to be Kackie or do you want to be Kevin? Like I remember it distinctly, and I was like, I'm Kackie, obviously. And so yeah, it was never something that was like a conscious decision. It happened for me, and then I just went along with it because I identified with it. But it's not my legal name at all. Like Kackie is nowhere in my legal name. Olivia CS Fit asks, do you love Paul Rudd? I just feel like you do, as should everyone. Have I not mentioned this on my channel before? Paul Rudd is Kansas City's greatest export. He is the actor that I will watch anything he makes. Anything. I love him. I could just watch him sit there and shoot the breeze with people. When he was on Between Two Ferns, the movie, he's like, are you a practicing Jew? He goes, not practicing. I've perfected it. I was just like, I love this man. I've loved him since Clueless. Clueless is pretty much my favorite movie. I don't know, depending on like, you know, what season of the year it is, or like, you know, what mood I'm in, but like I could watch Clueless weekly. And Paul Rudd he sealed the deal for me then, and I still think that he is just the cutest thing in the world. He's like probably one of my biggest celebrity crushes, so yes. Oh, and finally, a lot of people have been asking this, like a lot. Where are the aviator glasses from? I don't have them with me. I don't wear my glasses on camera, but pretty much anytime, I don't know, you see them on my Instagram a lot. They're from Warby Parker. I will stick the name of the model on the screen. But yeah, I have gone through quite a few pairs of like, you know, that style of glasses. But yeah, those are from Warby Parker. We have two showrooms in Austin, so I actually got to go try them on, and it was an easy decision. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Hi, I'm looking at myself in my monitor. Wow. I feel like I've been filming for a year. I also feel like that was an emotional roller coaster, but I did share everything that I really wanted to. I'm sorry if I didn't answer your specific question, because there were a lot, and most of the ones that I didn't answer had to do with beauty questions. Like you guys were asking about favorite products and things like that, and that's because I posted a couple of these prompts before my end of the year videos came out, and those really answered all of the questions, you know, all the favorite skincare stuff, all whether I'm moving forward with clean beauty in 2020, things like that. So all of those questions had already been answered. So thank you guys as always for even submitting questions. I always considered it to be like a huge landmark in my YouTube career to even be able to like put a prompt out and ask for people to, you know, send questions for a Q&A, and for people to actually do it. So it's like, that'll be the day. That's how I know I made it, you know? And so, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I've made it because I have a really cool community that like is engaged and wants to participate. So thank you guys. I hope this was fun for you. I hope it wasn't 8 years long, because editing this is gonna be fun. But if you did enjoy this, give it a thumbs up. If you wanna keep hanging out with me on this channel, guys, hit the button down below and subscribe. I would love it if you did. Thank you so much. We crossed 25,000 recently. In fact, I think we're at like 25,300 right now, which is totally awesome. But thank you guys for all of your support, and I'm so excited for the coming year. I hope you are too. So I love you, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.